So Assassin's Creed Shadows came out. Ooh, yay! I good lord, this is something that I truly believe is should be studied. This is one of those situations within like media that just needs to be studied. Not the game, not the content in the game, not the characters or anything like that, or decisions that was made, but very the the bare bones of marketing that Ubisoft did. There should be a masterclass on that. Because it's like they you can't imagine. They did everything conceivably possible to ruin whatever credibility that they could have with this game at every step of the way. And that is an admirable feat because that is just insane. Like it went from essentially the game initially being announced and people essentially praising Ubisoft for finally giving us an Assassin's Creed game that everyone always wanted, to it essentially just snowballing into this kerfuffle of just ridiculousness that everyone knew this was going to be. It was going to be full of bugs. It was going to have the typical Ubisoft standard of some weird goofy shit, and it was just, and you just had a majority of people just talking about the ridiculous mechanics that not mechanics, but the ridiculous character character selection, as well as this DEI insorted character and whatnot. Just it got to the point where it was like there's no point in even trying to discuss gameplay because at this point in time everyone's idea of the game in itself is just eh. So even if they were to accomplish anything positive within the game, the very identity of the game itself was just completely in the negative. So there's no way in hell that it was going to do any, that there was going to be any positive outlook from the game that would like outweigh whatever negative freaking asterisk that the name itself had attached to it. And it's like just looking at it from start to finish, it's like, where did you go so wrong? Now, don't get me wrong. It's not to say that the game itself isn't going to sell well, but you can't deny that it's definitely not going to sell as well as it could have if they didn't do what it is that they did in terms of marketing. Not Valhalla, Origins, like what was the Roman one? I can't remember. But none of those games had as much controversy be drummed up throughout their initial launch of the game as much as this Assassin's Creed. And again, that's what's blowing my mind about this, because it's like, yeah, Valhalla was a game that essentially I know people were like, for the most part, it didn't do anything outside of the norm of typical Assassin's Creed stuff. Yet, it did have like these little siege things that you could do with the Vikings pulling up to places, taking them over. But that was genuinely the only interesting thing a lot of people liked from it. But other than that, it was just the same old, the same RPG mechanics, the leveling up system, really taking away more from the stealth mechanic and just having it more about the mainstream battle stuff. Then you have Mirage come out, which was literally supposed to be a DLC for Valhalla that they turned into a full-blown game. And the biggest controversy for that was that they just kept promoting, it's the original Assassin's Creed, we're back to formula. And it generally, it wasn't, it felt shorter because it was supposed to be shorter. It wasn't really that much. It's not, it wasn't all there, but they released it. And again, a game that genuinely wasn't even a full-fledged out game, wasn't even met with as much controversy as Assassin's Creed Shadows. And this is just mind-boggling. Like it's just crazy at how you managed to do so much damage to your own brand when all you had to do was typically nothing. You just had to announce the game and not really talk that much about it. A lot of the things you could have left to being more so in an entertainment, like just a mystery entertainment aspect to kind of blend in more with the ninja stuff. So realistically, all you really needed to do was just like showcase and highlight, hey, we're gonna have these historical figures in the game, and you're just gonna be able to do ninja shit. And then you just keep it hush hush after that. You're gonna have to just have people excited to play the game. Early E3 shit, and it's like, oh, what can you do this? Can you do that? Well, you gotta wait till you play the game. I'm not gonna spoil anything. Gotta wait till you play the game. I mean, even with fucking Origins, back when E3 was a thing, they would only promote and mainly talk about the goddamn water for that game. It was so stupid. Look at the water. Look at all the water that we did. Look at what we did with the water. And then people played the game, and it was like, hey, okay. And it was like, all right, whatever. But it was like, but for the main thing that everyone kept talking about, it was like, the water. You get on the boat and look at the water. Oh, you can swim in the Nile. Whee! So stupid. But it's like, hell, they initially announced that they were going to have the black guy in it. And then it just, you're in the day and age of gaming right now where this shit don't fly no more. People don't like seeing it. People don't care for it. And it's like, you can't help but have it be associated with the DEI stuff because it just looks too much like the DEI stuff. You're about to be a 6 to 7 foot tall black guy in the middle of feudal Japan, and like, you're telling me that that's a main character, but he's supposed to be the samurai as well as essentially the melee kind of character in an Assassin's Creed game right after you released a game that supposedly was going back to formula. Ooh, that's not good. It wasn't good at all. It was brought to my attention when it was like he first got mentioned, and I agreed with it wholeheartedly. I cannot remember who said it, but essentially because of what his character, because like Yasuke actually existed, right? He actually existed. What it is that they did for the game is based off of a book that was, because I believe I did a video talking about this before, but if not, like, people talked about this, but it's based off of a book of a supposedly Japanese historian who wrote about Yasuke, and he basically fabricated a bunch of shit because the book that they use as a reference, it references the dude's material talking about Yasuke. So his book references his own writings. Nothing is factual. Nothing was proven. It's just that he had an idea and then he referenced those ideas in his book. Fucking retarded. And they use that book as a reference to explain this character's involvement in this Assassin's Creed game. Make that what you will, but again, that's not a good thing to do for marketing. Immediately people got pissed, and like I said, you're in the day and age right now where the DEI shit, people are going into Sweet Baby Inc. and all this stuff is basically getting, the rug is getting pulled from under you. So this shit isn't flying with gamers anymore because it's proven time and time again to not make money, and they don't like it. So you are now at the apex because you're basically, your game is already predisposed to having this character in it and him being this important in the game itself. But gamers themselves don't care for this type of content. So you already, like, the starter pistol is going off at the race and your shoes are tied together with glue on them. So the backlash behind this bullshit was so bad that I don't know if you remember it, but during the time when they announced Assassin's Creed Shadows, they had the Tokyo Gaming Show. And that's one of the few major gaming conventions that's still active, that people genuinely go to look at brand new games, play demos, stuff like that. It's what E3 wish it could have been if they didn't kill themselves. But they canceled going to the Tokyo Gaming Show because of the negative backlash from Japan based off of just the small, simple shit that they've shown for Assassin's Creed Shadows. Baby, it just gets worse from there. You then have people essentially tear down and destroy just the smallest pieces of clips from the fucking game that Ubisoft then decides to release. Hell, people broke down the fact that they were like, are those cherry blossoms? I'll never forget looking at this clip, and someone was like, are those cherry blossoms? And it was like, yeah. And then it was like, he's walking around and it's supposed to be what time? And then they was like, well, this time in Japan. And then they was like, yeah, cherry blossoms wouldn't bloom during that time. It'd be too fucking cold. Then it was like, why are there street peddlers? And it was like, well, isn't that what they do? And it was like, not then, it's too fucking cold. And then it's like, we historically know what the time and the date of that stuff was. Why didn't they look into that? And then what got revealed even more was that the only historians Ubisoft even cared to talk to was basically a woman that was, I believe she's supposed to be Japanese American, I think. That is completely wholeheartedly, just left-wing crazy, I'd say would be the appropriate term. And so to her, one of her major focus was just trying to showcase and dictate all the gay shit that was in feudal Japan for whatever reason. And then a dude, I don't even know if the dude had any more hearsay than the woman, but the main person that they talked to was this female historian, I believe. And so then again, people were just tearing this game apart at the seams because they're now at a point where no one cares or likes this stuff anymore. And let us not forget, Ubisoft also was coming off of the heels of essentially pissing off gamers as a whole for releasing Skull and Bones. So this is outside the narrative of just Assassin's Creed itself. It's just the integrity of Ubisoft. You had the Skull and Bones game got released, which was a shit show. And that game almost cost $1 billion, I believe. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But from hearsay, it cost a shitload of money for that game because it was delayed, and it was like delayed in a ridiculous amount. Finally came out. One of the things that was stated behind it was that it's a quadruple A game, and the game was garbage. Just garbage. Even it's based off of the ship, the pirate mechanic from Assassin's Creed Black Flag, and it did everything but it had everything in there but the fun pirating shit that Black Flag had. That was which was the reason that this game was supposed to be made in the first place. So that shit show happened. Then you had damn near every other game that Ubisoft has released up into Assassin's Creed Shadows, which again was just boring game after boring game after boring game. Also the another game would be the aforementioned, I didn't even bring it up, but the Star Wars Outlaw game, which people tore to shreds because, again, being tired of the DI bullshit and all of the ridiculousness that Ubisoft has been trying to push in their games that people are tired of seeing in the games. And also, this, which I believe happens to have a bigger negative, a negative connotation towards their name, is just the overall quality of the games themselves. So, this is a AAA studio. We know that they're capable of releasing stuff with a particular type of quality. And they continue time and time again to release something that's just unfucking playable. Unless you wait for a good 2 years until they finally patch every goddamn thing, then you can actually just play a somewhat decent game. But at the same time, when the game came out, it's a buggy mess and they're charging you $70 for it. See what I'm saying? These are the negative things that are associated with Ubisoft. It's similar to Bethesda, and it's like they want to push the narrative that people are just used to us having this bullshit in our games, but everyone is tired of it because you are getting better games with better quality that are coming out cheaper, and they're not just bogged down with all this ridiculous controversy or shit that they just don't even want to see or have or play in a video game. So all of these ingredients make a hot nigga pie. So then you had essentially Ubisoft then release they had an art book for the game, and in the art book they were showcasing the different art that they were referencing inside of the video game and the stuff that they thought was pretty cool and historically accurate, stuff like that. Then it got revealed that the art in the art book and the shit that they were using was actually bullshit. A lot of that stuff was based off of modern Japan shit. Hell, there was actually a historian, it's essentially like a group that reenacts stuff within Japanese stuff, and they had a flag that they put in Assassin's Creed Shadows, and it's like, that's not an actual thing that existed back then. This is a brand new group that made that up, and then you guys stole their flag and what's written on their flag. You hacks. And they removed it from the art book, but was it like, it's like they couldn't remove it from the art book because they were already published, but they went in and removed it from the game. But people were still upset about that, and then everyone was like, just don't release the book. And then they still did it anyway. People were like, oh God, you're not listening. And then again, the group got angry. I believe they even fucking sued. So again, mired in controversy, you just keep piling it on, just piling it on. Then they released like a little figurine, and they had like the Shinobi girl perched on top of one of the Shinto temple gates. And it was like a destroyed temple gate that essentially, because this one was like, Jesus Christ. It's a gate that's a historical relic in Japan because it's one of the gate figures that stood after Hiroshima and Nagasaki had the atom bomb dropped on them. And so then they were like, you're referencing that gate. Because it's like the same pillar missing and everything. And it's like, you're referencing that gate in a game that takes place hundreds of years before that shit even happens. Not only that, but then you have your character perched on top of that gate, which has historical significance for the Japanese people. It's like, dude, what the fuck? It's like, how do you fuck up that bad? And again, these are things that they promoted that they had that people couldn't help but identify after they promoted. It'd be ridiculous to believe that essentially this wouldn't have been such a big deal if this stuff wasn't that known prior to the game actually coming out. If all of this shit got revealed after the game came out, people had already bought the game. It'd been oh bad, so sad. It'd been too late, you know? It'd been like, oop, whatever. So it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But it didn't, because they kept needing to keep like just prop it up and get more people interested. Now, you also have the delays. That also deals a major blow, especially towards gamers now, because they read between the lines now to where they have delays for games coming out. And they did that, and a lot of people were like, oh, Ubisoft and their bad quality games again, they're pushing it back because they fucked up. So obviously the game ain't good. Pushing back dates for video games does not do them, like, it does not help a video game at all. For movies, it depends on how the hype was built up and drummed up. It's like, you can push back a movie date. If people want to go see it, they'll go see it. But for video games, it's like, why are you pushing this back? Is your game not finished? Then when the game comes out and it's even worse and then word of mouth spreads, that does even more damage to your credibility in the game itself. And they pushed back Assassin's Creed fucking 2 times, I believe, if not 2, I think 3. But it was supposed to come out in November of last year, and that wasn't fucking happening. Then it was supposed to come out in fucking February, and then they pushed it back to March. Woo! And then one of the reasons they released it when they did in March is because Steam had a sale, and there were no other major video game releases that could essentially have any type of competition towards it. So you got a Steam sale that's going on, as well as essentially no other major AAA title that could fuck with whatever you got. So that's why they released it when they did. But again, you still have that negative asterisk on the side of it, where people are like, why did you push it back? What'd you do? Like, that's not good. That's never good with games. Like, why'd you push it back? What did you do? So you have all of that stuff going on for Ubisoft and Assassin's Creed brand. The video game itself, when you show gameplay of it and whatnot, is not really anything spectacular, new, or interesting. No one really cares about the characters and what they got going on. Everyone is basically upset because essentially you're making a game that has been something people have been asking for years, and you've ignored them completely. But it's after another game came out that basically delivered what it is that you were trying to deliver with this game already. And that game was praised so heavily, and I'm talking about Ghost of Tsushima, that game was praised so heavily that the developers were made honorary citizens of Tsushima because of the progress they did with that game. While your game literally, upon release, had Japanese parliament seek the banning of the game because in the video game you destroy shrines in order to gain power or something like that. And so Ubisoft actually had to rush and patch the fact that you did that because the Japanese people found that to be so disrespectful that Ubisoft hurried up and patched that in the game. I don't know what it is that they do now, but it's like they no longer can destroy shrines, but you're supposed to visit them for little power-ups and stuff like that. And so just think of the narrative behind that. You are playing as the Yasuke dude. So you're this big black guy and you're just walking around randomly in feudal Japan, destroying important shrines that actually exist in real life in order to gain a power-up and it be considered a good thing. It's like, dude, what the fuck? Oh man, that's worse than getting a flag wrong in Spider-Man 2. Like, Jesus Christ. It's like just the logistics of shit. And it's like no one was in the room in Ubisoft explaining to these people. It's like, dude, this is not good. What are you making? What is this? What are we doing here? This is crazy. All people want to do is just ninja shit. That's all people want to do is ninja shit, because that's all Assassin's Creed ever was. Ninja shit. Throwing darts, making people sleep, blow darts and shit, a stealth dagger. You're a ninja. Just put me in Japan. And they was like, but wait, there's more. It's like, oh my goodness. So now we're at this point where it's like the game is out. People are tearing it apart. Everybody hates it. Well, most people hate it. Everyone's tearing it apart, and a lot of the stuff is associated with it, to where it's like, yeah, it's a game that exists, but it ain't really worth playing. And it's like, honestly, if you want more bang for the buck, you get Ghost of Tsushima. And with this game, considering the downward spiral that it's heading, and then hell, Ubisoft stock took like an 8% dive when the game got released, and then took another 7% dive the next day after that. Fuck, that's a lot. But like, people are like, yeah, just wait for the game to go on sale if you truly want to play it that bad. And again, if you did it on Steam, then you already got it on sale. And most likely, if you're like, PlayStation or Xbox or anything like that, I'm pretty sure Game Pass, you already get it on Game Pass if that is the case. And if not, then dude, you just wait it out. And then with PlayStation, eventually it'll be on PlayStation Plus also. So like I said, this is historically ridiculous. Just to see exactly how massively crazy a video game could possibly be received before it even fucking comes out. And it's like, there's just nothing but negative words and negative captions related to this game. To where it's like, most people would just genuinely not want to condone it. And then even after the patch and what they did, I believe still Japan is basically still in talks of just having the game in itself banned, just because of how disrespectful it is and just how ridiculous Ubisoft has been handling their incorporation of the Japanese people, or just overall Japanese culture and history behind them releasing this game. And that's still a major blow, because it's like, Asian market is still a big chunk of market for the video games. Japanese and Japan and Korea especially. So yeah, like this is like I said, like from the beginning of this video, like I said, then the important thing to me was just focusing on what's been going on with the marketing. The game is whatever. The game be damned. Like, that's whatever. It was never something that was like, oh yeah, like this game was going to be the one to bring Ubisoft back. Fuck no. You knew the story wasn't going to be anything because they brought in Yasuke. Oh shit, I forgot. I mentioned that earlier and I went on a tangent. But something someone mentioned earlier that I've seen about Yasuke was that even though he historically existed, it would have been cool if he essentially was similar to like Leonardo da Vinci in Assassin's Creed 2, or some of the other helpers, Benjamin Franklin in the beginning of Assassin's Creed 3 and shit like that, George Washington. Just a character that exists that is in historically would be there, but because you don't really know that much about their personal life or whatever it is going on, you can blend that character into the world of Assassin's Creed as being someone that either helps, gave missions, or was a part of the Assassin Order. So just to give them some just a better. They have a better reason for actually being involved in the story, realistically. I mean, hell, in Origins, you got missions from Cleopatra, and the Valhalla one, that one just that went off the rails. But it's like there's so much you could have did to actually make this game actually just people just buy it in droves, and it just take off like Valhalla did. But it's like from day damn one, it was like, this is not gonna do well. This is just not gonna do well. And again, I'm curious to see what the overall numbers are gonna be. Now, they could pull a fucking BioWare and just not admit what it is that they made in sales. I would like for them to, but right now their stock is at a very iffy point for them to even want to. But eventually, it's going to get revealed exactly what their numbers were with this game, and it's gonna be either sales or player or player count and stuff like that. But again, going by player count, a lot of that shit is really iffy, because hell, they had someone talk about how in Canada they had like 1 million people playing Assassin's Creed Shadows, but they only lasted for like a day, and then immediately they dropped down on like the player board for like most games played in Steam and shit like that. And so it's only been getting less and less and less. And that's really bad for a brand new game. And I believe like overall copies sold in itself was less than that of Dragon Age Veilguard, which is a really bad game. And even still, you also had another issue within their controversy, was the fact that essentially people stole the Assassin's Creed game, and they actually got them for free, or like they got them cheap, or they was able to buy them online or something like that. So, and those would have been the people that essentially really, really, really wanted to play the game, and they already got it. So yeah, like I said, there's a lot of negative going on with this thing, and it's crazy to see, but watching how Ubisoft is handling this, and then seeing if whether or not this is the straw that breaks the camel back, because again, they've had massive misses with their last group of video games coming out, and this one not really just following suit. So seeing if this is the straw that breaks the camel back, seeing if this is something that still can pull out a win, or they can actually sell quite a bit. It's like, will it be something that make up for the loss from Skull and Bones? Fuck no. I don't think anything's gonna. They gotta release at least 4 games for something like that, because they lost a lot of money from Skull and Bones. But is this, like, just what exactly is gonna be the fallout because of this game? Because what the game is doing currently is just, we're in the middle of it. This is the eye of the storm. I'm waiting to see how they get out of it, because it was like everything was building up to this thing getting released. Got released. Now what's gonna happen? That's what I'm curious about. That's what I want to see. And so, yeah, that's it. I bet you they're not gonna make that Beyond Good and Evil 2 game. They're not gonna make that. That game has been on like permanent hiatus or whatever, and it just screams something that people would have just mindlessly threw money at. If that game would have came out before Skull and Bones, they'd probably be okay. Because it's like you play as a chimpanzee with a jetpack, flying around in this crazy futuristic open world. That's all that they talked about with that game, aside from just a cinematic trailer, and that's all people have ever been talking about. And we're no closer to that game. And hell, I didn't even play Beyond Good and Evil. So whatever. But yeah. This is quite entertaining. So right? It's the most entertaining thing Ubisoft has done in a long while. And with that, I'm gonna leave. This has been another episode of Fun with Flame. I've been your host, Danieltheflame, and it's always good people. Hope you had some fun.